All right. Good morning, Cindy.
Morning.
I'm glad that you are up for this. This is our first ever podcast. I have kind of been picturing the world for the last 90 days like that HBO series, The Leftovers. We all we all woke up and most of the population was gone. We were in our house for like 90 days, and now we're starting to come back out and see what's around and what's left over. So I thought we would help people get reacquainted with one another. Since we can't physically be in the sanctuary yet, maybe we could spend some time getting to know each other a little better. And I thank you for being the first one to go
Yeah.
on camera for me. That's awesome. So why don't you start by telling us a little bit about who you are and what you're about and a little bit about yourself.
Okay. My name is Cindy Heisel. I am an English and drama teacher at Great Moline High School. That's my career. Wife of Jim Heisel, mother of Dinah Heisel, and I'm excited to be your guinea pig today.
How did you come to be a member of the church? You are one of our newest members, actually, because you just joined 2 years ago officially, but you've been coming for a
Yeah.
long time. So tell us a little bit how you came.
So I joined First Prize through my husband Jim and his family. Jim grew up in First Prize. Everybody tells me stories about little Jimmy throwing things off of the balcony at the old ladies, apparently. But when I don't know if it was before we got married or right after we got married, we came just to go to Easter service because I grew up Catholic and it was Easter morning and I was like, we have to go to church. It's required. So we went to an Easter service and one of Jim's friends started talking to him and let him know that they could really use him around the church. And so we started coming more regularly. And after our daughter Dinah was born, I decided to make it official and become a member so that we all as a family would all just belong in the same place.
Excellent. Nice. I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about what quarantine, what this physical distancing for the last 90 days, what's that been like for you all?
It's been kind of like a roller coaster of things and emotions. The first thing that happened, obviously, was as a teacher having to adjust to teaching online and the differences that meant. So when we first closed the building, they had us jump into an e-learning model, which we had kind of practiced a little bit to be used for snow days. It was basically supposed to be so you would have the ability to still give assignments for one day of blizzard and
Right.
not have to make it up at the end of the year. But because the state declared it a state of emergency, the students weren't required to sign on for that, and there was no way that we could use those assignments to in their grade. It could hurt their grade. Because the students are just come from wildly different situations. We have students who are very, very privileged, and then we have students who are in a lot of need, and we don't know what their situations at home were. And so that, in a lot of ways, that was a good thing. But a lot of our students, being high school students, took that as it meant they didn't have to go to school.
Right.
They didn't have to do their work because you're not counting these points, are you?
Right.
High school students are motivated by the grade.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's been the hardest thing about it. Jim was also teaching online. He basically just moved his lectures to the computer.
Sure.
So at first it was I didn't really have a structure and he had his structure. But then after our spring break, our school set up a new model for like extended remote learning. And then we both had schedules that we had to teach in with an almost 3-year-old at home. So that was the hardest part, I think, for at least work, was figuring out when both of us were teaching when we had required schedules from our schools,
Mm-hmm.
and what was going to happen with the child in the meantime. And so sometimes she sat in my lap while I held an online class meeting, and I put on some Disney movies in the background for her to hopefully
Yeah.
um, find something to do. But for the most part, it worked really well. It was just an adjustment that first week of full time online learning. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, that's been the
I
hardest thing, honestly. It's been adjusting to the teaching part. Um, Staying at home is not hard for us. Anyone who knows Jim or myself, you know that we like to stay at home. We don't really like going out. Um, so that part has not been as hard.
Sure. Sure. It's I've talked to a lot of parents who have small children, and obviously we're homeschooling our kids and trying to work. Amelia is trying to do online distance learning with Northwestern, and I'm trying to do the church stuff, and our two kids are both in school, so they're both trying to homeschool, but they're at such different levels that
Yeah,
really the 5-year-old needs somebody to sit with her the whole time. The 9-year-old is 90 days after the school closed, like he's into concepts that they never taught in school, so he really needs somebody to teach him the concepts. So I
yeah.
feel your pain. Yeah, I've talked to a lot of moms, and the data seems to indicate that even though dads are trying to help out, moms are really bearing the burden of this. That the teaching, the homeschooling, the kid care, the moms are carrying this in their body. This is
Isn't that always the way? It's
isn't that
the
always the
no matter
way?
how
Like,
hard our husbands try and want to, we have the problem where Jim tries to
yeah,
take over, but Dinah, if she wants mommy, it's mommy or nothing, and she can be kind of mean to him about that.
the
Um,
we
and
have something
so
similar going on with
that's
the 5-year-old. Yeah.
yeah. So she will make her opinions very clear, and then I mean, if if she was yelling at me, no, go away, she
Yeah.
sometimes tells him, go away.
Oh, it's
I don't
heartbreaking.
know where she learned that one.
Kids can be direct and cruel.
Yes.
Yes. So what does it look like now that things are opening up? Are you visiting friends and family? Are you
Well, we kind of took a softer approach to the quarantine, and we
okay?
had been seeing our parents as
Okay.
well. We have a weekly dinner with each of our parents. And as a family, we decided that since all of us were separately quarantined and the only public places we were going to was the same grocery store,
Yeah.
um, that it would be okay for us to still see each other. So we did still see our parents during quarantine time, and that helped a lot for I think everybody's well-being, mental health,
Yes.
etc. Um, Now that things are opening up, um, we haven't really ventured out into the public spaces. I'm not ready to go to a restaurant or anything,
Mm-mm.
and part of that is because Dinah is so little; she doesn't understand.
Yeah.
She wouldn't understand if I told her not to touch things or to talk to people.
Mm-hmm.
So she's staying pretty quarantined. But we had some family and friends over on Saturday for Dinah's third birthday.
Nice.
Not the big birthday party that we had had in the past few years, but it was really nice to give her some semblance of a
Yeah.
party. And then I think we're going to have a friend party with her best friend, um, Nathan and Michelle Rarick's daughter. Her birthday was the day before Dinah's, so we're going to have a little birthday party with them this weekend.
Okay.
So it'll be the first time Dinah's seen another child in a
Yeah.
long time.
Yeah. My kids are playing with the 3-year-old next door through the fence. They look like dogs running the fence, but it's the closest they can get to each other. And
Oh,
yeah, it's
right.
well. Let me ask you this: in all of this upheaval, um, and it's not just the COVID and the work and the home life. I mean, there's people in the streets right now demanding a change, and this long problem of racism in the country is finally like boiling to the surface again, and we have again another opportunity to maybe address it. Where have you seen God moving in this time? Have you felt any kind of movement of the Spirit, I guess, in your life, in your house?
Well, you bring up the upheaval and the kind of revolution that's going
Yeah.
on. And as someone who works with teenagers, um, that's actually where I see it and where I see hope for anything in the future. I am connected with some of my former students on social media,
Mm-hmm.
and they are the ones with the fire. They are out there making a difference, and they are out there calling out people on racism every day. And sometimes fire has been exhausting for me in the past. I'm like, oh God, you guys are 21, chill out.
Yeah.
But right now, they're the ones, they're going to change the world. And it makes me so proud. I'm going to get like teary eyed thinking about these kids that I love. It makes me so proud to have been a tiny part of their lives,
Yeah.
that they're so different from the world that I grew up in, and I'm not that old. Um, but I came from a school and a community that was not diverse at all. Like
Mm-hmm.
everybody looked like me. Everybody came from backgrounds like my own. And then I came to Crete and started teaching in a school where I was a different person in the room.
Mm.
Um, and that has changed my perspective a lot and made me do a lot of soul searching and thinking
Mm-hmm.
and reevaluating how I approach the world. And a lot of that in the last 2 weeks for sure. But I think that's where I see the Spirit is moving, because these kids are going to start doing and stop just
Yeah.
thinking about things and complaining about things. They're doing things. I hear people from my parents' generation talk about how the young people need to start voting. And I'm like, have you talked to the young people
Yeah,
lately?
exactly.
They're out there.
Yeah.
Um, and so I'm definitely moved and proud of what these my little Gen Z babies are doing. Um, and hopefully I am a tiny little part of their fire. I hope I am.
Yeah. Yeah. Are there ways that you could see the church participating in that? Are there things that you wish the church was doing or could grow into?
I definitely, I would love to see more youth outreach with our church. It's
Yeah.
hard to do. I know, as someone who tried to work with
Mm-hmm.
the youth program, it's difficult to organize. It takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. Um, Seeing more youth outreach, more community outreach too,
Mm-hmm.
within our area would definitely be helpful. Um, it's hard to make connections with the local schools because the separation of church and school is
Oh,
very
yeah.
strict. But getting more of an understanding of what those kids want to see,
Mm-hmm.
because church is very different for them. It's not
Right.
necessarily, like I said, I felt required to come to church
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that first Easter. They don't feel that. They don't believe in the building being necessary.
No.
The more I've talked to kids, especially when opening up started and people started wanting to go to church right away,
Mm-hmm.
um, that building is not necessary for the young people. It's not necessary for me either.
Yeah.
I don't need to be in a building with other people to pray, to connect with God.
Right.
Um, I just look out my window and I see the birds flying around and I see trees outside, and that's always kind of been how I've connected, more personally, more meditatively. Um, and I think the young people are like that too. And so they're going to see God in the works that we do
Mm-hmm.
more than in services. In the worship is not as important to them.
Right.
It's the community service and the work that we're doing, and that's where they're going to see the good in the world.
It's funny because as the pastor, I'm supposed to be the one who wants the building to open the most. And I have been very reluctant to open the building, because we are worshiping. We're worshiping online.
Yeah.
I talk to people every day. I call people from the church every day, and we talk and we fellowship. And we're going to do these small groups now. And that's another opportunity. Like for me, like the physical sanctuary worship space is the least important in the hierarchy of things we do. But I still love it. Like I still love to worship. I still love to be in that space. And I read, I'm on Twitter a lot, and I read this really kind of challenging post from a young Gen Zer. And he was standing in a crowd that had been tear gassed, and the crowd was washing the bottles and were washing their eyes and washing their face. And he said, "This right here is church. This is the church I have been looking for and have not found in any of the churches I've ever been in. This is sacramental," and it really like that's what I
Yeah.
want. It's hard in the traditional mainline to replicate that powerful experience because we are so staid and we are so attached to our traditions in our building.
Yeah.
But that's what I think
No,
that.
they definitely they need the action, they need the
Mhm.
interaction, and a lot of that is how they've been taught in education and all of their activities. Everything has been interactive
Yeah,
for their whole lives. They're
right.
not good at sitting and listening.
No, well, they don't do
In the
passive lectures
classroom,
anymore.
sitting and listening doesn't happen.
Yeah, yeah,
And a lot of church is sitting and listening, and that's not what they're looking for anymore. And so church needs to find a way to kind of adapt to meet those needs of the kids that are coming up, because a
yeah.
lot of them aren't kids anymore.
Right. Well, I read somewhere that the oldest millennial turned 40 this year, and that struck me. We're used to blaming
Yeah.
the millennials for being kids, and they're not kids anymore. Uh,
Right. It's you can't keep blaming us. We're doing the best we can.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, most millennial, not most, but a lot of millennials have kids. They have jobs. They have
Hmm.
careers. If we had
Yeah.
an economy that didn't suck, they might have a house. Uh,
Right.
if this weren't the second major recession of their professional lives already, like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, we've talked about it in this house, that when we finished college, we were in a major recession, and
yeah,
then now here's another one, and how that's affecting our professional lives too.
yeah. Well, let me switch gears a little bit and ask you, because we're getting close to the end of our time here. Uh, what, as you have reflected in these last couple of months and you've adjusted to a new norm, which is not, my therapist always says that this is not normal. It feels like a new norm, but we haven't really achieved a new norm yet. We're still in
Yeah.
trauma. We're still in chaos. As you've reflected on your routine and all that, are there things about pre-COVID life that you've come to really appreciate? Things that you've come to realize that was more valuable and more precious than you had ever given it credit for?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is obviously my classroom.
Sure.
Um, that space and having all of my kids there in front of me, reaching all of my students through the computer was so hard.
Sure.
And I'm praying and praying that we will be able to at least open up the building in some capacity in the fall, um, because you build your relationships in the classroom.
Yeah.
Um, I knew who my kids were when I saw them on the computer screen. I knew them because I connected with them already. If the first week of school is on the computer,
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I'm going to have a hard time with that. I'm an interpersonal person in the
Mhm.
classroom. I've done theater my whole life. That's another thing I'm going to miss a lot. But working together with people in the same room
Mhm.
is something that you can't recreate on the computer screen. Um, and then, like I said, the theater is definitely something that we're gonna have to figure out.
Yeah.
We had to cancel our spring musical, cancel our summer program, and now we're kind of up in the air to see if we'll have a production in the fall. Um, And that's one of those spaces that is a safe space for a lot of our kids. It's the only place that they feel they belong. Um, and that's going to be really hard to figure out because it's a space where people are so close together. Um, Kids on
Particularly with the
stage
singing.
share so much space and
Yeah.
singing and speaking and
Yeah.
projecting.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and teaching drama on a computer screen was another story altogether. I had to
I
figure out
bet.
ways for them to videotape performances, but then the interpersonal active part of it was taken away.
Yeah.
And that's something that I definitely miss, is the connecting and interacting with people in real life.
Mm-hmm. This was the year that Amelia was going to redo her headshots and get back out there. And her headshot appointment was in March, and we had to cancel that, obviously. And I don't think we'll be doing headshots this year. You know, it's going to take a while to figure this
Yeah,
out. Yeah.
right.
These So yeah, it's so many things that we just kind of took for granted that now we have to reinvent or figure out. What
Hmm.
what do you find yourself struggling with the most in this kind of lockdown? I guess, like, is it the theater, the loss of theater and classroom, or is it the balancing the work-life balance, or is it the
What have and I know I've struggled, so I try to think, what is the thing that happens the most? I think the thing that I've struggled with the most is the weight of all of it,
yeah,
of everything. Having, it's not one particular thing. If I had to deal with one thing, I think I would handle it better. But it's those
yeah,
days that you feel everything. You read the news and you see scary things on the
yeah,
news. You are dealing with things in your house. You're dealing with things at work that's still in your house. Um,
yeah,
it's a combination of all of the things that have been stressful and difficult for me. And those are the days that I feel weight of quarantine.
yeah,
The days that I could take things like one piece at a time are a lot better, but there are days that I felt everything just pile up.
yeah, yeah. I hear that from so many people that in it's just the totality of it. It's just the totality. You have to think about things so much
Mm-hmm.
finer. You have to think about them in so much more intentionally, and everything is different and harder and takes longer, and everything just weighs so much more. I definitely don't think you're alone in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, give it another month or two. The church is going to start to gather in person, we think, in September. We're going to do these small groups. We're going to do more online outreach. And we're really going to focus on small groups for the summer, but probably for the rest of the year, kind of
That's
hitting on
great.
what you said about younger people. Uh, I want to decentralize that passive worship experience where people come and sit and hear,
Mm-hmm.
really emphasize the interaction and the interpersonal. So hopefully we'll see the church move in a direction that can offer some support, can offer some more places to plug in, and more places where you don't have to leave the house if you want to connect. Thank you so much for taking the time this morning to talk with
Oh, you're
me.
so welcome.
I hope people got a better understanding of who Cindy Heisel is. And we'll see if we can get a couple more of these up, and we'll throw them up on YouTube, and we can get people to interact with them. So I appreciate, and I hope you have a good morning.
Awesome.
Say hi to the family for me. Okay.
Me too.
All right.
We will.
All right. I'll talk to you soon. Okay.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.
Yep.